clattered to the floor, glasses shattering like gunshots across the polished tiles. The restaurant erupted in
Whoa, did you see
chaos.
that?
Phones were out, cameras rolling.
I
A
can't believe
billionaire
it.
sat frozen at table 9, his face drained of color. Lukas Drexler, billionaire, tech genius, media darling. And standing over him, calm as still water, was Maya Ellis, the waitress he'd been mocking for months, the waitress who just demolished him in perfect Danish, the waitress who was actually a doctor. Maya Ellis didn't flinch. She bent swiftly, collected the broken pieces with practiced hands, and rose without a word. But hey, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me take you back to where this all began. If you're already hooked, hit the like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Your support helps us keep telling the stories that matter. 3 months earlier, Maya Ellis stood in the pre-dawn darkness of her tiny Toronto apartment, ironing her black uniform with mechanical precision. The fabric steamed under her steady hand. Her movements were careful, practiced, the routine of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. On the counter beside her sat a framed photograph, a younger Maya in doctoral robes, beaming beside an older woman wearing a headscarf, her mother, the woman who'd sacrificed everything to put her through school, the woman who was now dying. She knew Danish fluently. Nordic Linguistics, PhD, University of Oslo. Her dissertation? Linguistic gatekeeping and the performance of power. But that was a past life. Now she served steak. In the bustling rooftop restaurant in downtown Toronto, Maya kept her head down. Her mother's cancer treatments weren't getting cheaper, and academic prestige didn't pay hospital bills. So she smiled, took orders, and let men like Lukas pretend she was invisible. The first time he mocked her in Danish, she let it pass. She was sure it was a mistake, some twisted coincidence. But the second time, when he said her eyes reminded him of a tired street dog, she knew exactly what he was doing. "Did you hear what he said?" whispered one of the junior servers behind the bar. Maya had heard every slur, every smug chuckle, every insult dressed as clever banter. Still, she carried the next tray to Lukas's table, her steps steady. He was entertaining 4 other men in sleek suits, tech investors, the sort who liked their steak rare and their women silent. Lukas leaned back in his chair as she approached. He grinned at his friends, then looked at Maya with lazy contempt. In Danish, he said, "You know, she's got that look, the kind that says, 'Please, sir, don't fire me.' Pathetic." The men snickered. Maya placed the dishes down, careful, composed. "You think she understands?" one of the others asked. Lukas scoffed. "She's a waitress in Toronto. She probably thinks Denmark is a brand of cheese." Maya's jaw tightened, but her face remained still. Her mind, though, churned, not with anger, with calculation. Lukas returned the next night. Then again, and again. It became routine. Verbal darts thrown over glasses of whiskey and plates of bone marrow. Maya kept taking it. She served him with a grace that mocked his ignorance. But the truth was, she was reaching her edge. The restaurant's management noticed nothing, or pretended not to. Complaints about guests that tipped 10 grand weren't welcome, especially when those guests posted about their perfect evening and tagged the restaurant's Instagram. One night, Lukas arrived alone. He was early, impatient, drinking before the appetizer. "Ah, my favorite silent shadow," he said in English this time. "Tell me, do you ever think of doing something more ambitious, or is this the peak of your aspirations?" Maya didn't answer. She refilled his glass. Lukas smirked. "I suppose silence is your only strength," he added in Danish. "Good." Words are dangerous when left to the wrong mouths. Maya walked away before he could see her hand shaking. The next shift, he brought a new guest. A woman, blonde, statuesque, curious. She watched Maya closely. "She's pretty," the woman said to Lukas. "She's obedient," he replied. Big difference. In Danish, The woman chuckled, unsure. That was the night it happened. 3 hours into service, 3 hours of subtle degradation. Lukas's voice got louder. He was emboldened. He sensed no risk. He said, "She probably grew up in a slum. No father, 10 siblings, eating dirt and dreaming of being a cashier. And now, look at her, a high-end servant." The others laughed. One man choked on his wine. Maya stood by their table, holding a dessert tray. She placed it down gently. Then she straightened and spoke in flawless Danish. "You've made a mistake tonight." Lukas froze. The others blinked, confused. Maya continued, calm, clear. "You assumed I was stupid. You assumed I was beneath you. But the only thing beneath you is your own character." The room went quiet. University of Oslo, doctorate in Nordic Linguistics. "I've read every author you quote. I've written papers you plagiarized. I know exactly who you are, Lukas. And now so does everyone else." Phones were out. Cameras recorded. The restaurant staff stood frozen. A busboy dropped a plate in the back. Lukas tried to laugh, to shrug it off. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" "The joke," Maya said, "is that you thought language was your weapon. Turns out it was mine." She walked away. The video hit Twitter that night, then Reddit, then every major outlet. Waitress obliterates tech mogul in fluent Danish. Power flipped, how one woman silenced a billionaire. If this moment gave you chills, drop a comment below. Let us know what you would have said in Maya's shoes. Lukas resigned from 3 boards in a week. Investors pulled out, stock dipped, old accusations resurfaced. The restaurant issued a formal apology. Too late. Maya didn't return. She didn't need to. She was offered guest lecturing roles, then a permanent position, then her own course. Language, Power, and Prejudice. She accepted. On her first day as professor, she stood before her students, many of them working part-time jobs, some of them nodding off after night shifts. She told them this: "People will underestimate you. Let them, then make them regret it." The class erupted in applause. At home, her mother watched the clip online. She smiled through her oxygen mask. Maya visits her old restaurant once, months later. The hostess doesn't recognize her. Why would she? She walks taller now. She leaves a note under the tip jar. "For the silent ones. Your voice is waiting. Subscribe if you believe in justice served cold and fluent." Maya Ellis is not a hero because she spoke up. She's a hero because she waited, calculated, struck with precision. They thought she was invisible, but she was simply watching. Now, she's impossible to ignore. Weeks passed, and Maya adjusted to her new life in academia. But the world wasn't done watching. Her name still trended in cycles. Think pieces, interviews, podcasts. Requests for public appearances began to fill her inbox. She turned most of them down, focused instead on building a curriculum that fused theory with lived experience. One day she received a handwritten letter. It was from a young woman who worked as a cleaner in the university's administration building. "I heard your story," and it read, "I started taking night classes. I wanted you to know you made me believe I could be more." Maya kept the letter folded in her planner. Hit the like button if you believe stories like Maya's deserve to be told, remembered, and shared. She launched a program months later, Voices Unseen, scholarships for students from working-class backgrounds, mentorship for service industry workers looking to return to school. It started small, grew faster than expected. Former co-workers from the restaurant reached out. Some left. One went back to school. Another filed a workplace harassment complaint and won. Even the new manager at the restaurant invited Maya to speak at staff orientation. She agreed. She stood in front of a room full of waiters and kitchen staff and told them, "Respect is not a reward. It is a right." She kept her voice measured, but it hit like a drum. And Lukas? No one really knows. He disappeared from the media cycle, Rumors said he moved to Europe, started another company, different name, but the internet remembers. His name still haunts every search engine. One day, Maya received an anonymous package, inside a copy of her dissertation, printed and annotated. A note tucked inside read, "You were right." She didn't know if it was from Lukas. She didn't care. She placed it on a shelf in her office, next to a framed photo of her mother, smiling, proud. Subscribe for more stories like this, of dignity, power, and quiet brilliance rising loud. The lecture hall lights dimmed. Her students filed in. A new class, a new story. And Maya? She cleared her throat, opened her notes, and began again. The next semester, Maya found herself walking past a bulletin board littered with student flyers, tutoring ads, book exchanges, calls for roommates. A simple handwritten note stood out. If you're working and feel like giving up, read about Dr. Maya Ellis. Google her story. She paused, smiled, then walked on. At a panel discussion on academic equity, Maya was asked a direct question. Do you think your story would have gone viral if you weren't so educated? She replied without blinking. It shouldn't have to take a PhD to be treated like a human being. But sometimes when the world won't listen, credentials become your amplifier. The room applauded. Someone stood. Then another. It turned into a standing ovation. If Maya's words resonated with you, share this video with someone who needs to hear them. Let's amplify the unheard. Maya's story became curriculum. Students debated it, dissected the language dynamics, wrote essays on structural bias. But beyond the theory, what stuck with them was the fire. The moment she stood up, not with volume, but with clarity. Her story was taught in seminars across disciplines: linguistics, ethics, social justice, workplace psychology. And wherever it was told, students leaned forward. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. And because it whispered something powerful to everyone who'd ever been overlooked. You are not invisible. You've heard the story. Now make sure it's not forgotten. Subscribe to Stories of Prejudice for more real voices, real pain, and real change. Like, share, and be part of the change.